Good morning, everybody. You're all very welcome to the conference for Hope and Change this morning. It is my absolute pleasure to be here with you all this morning. And I have to, before we start, congratulate the Tipperary Horse Owners Association and the Tipperary Rural Traveller Project Limited on tackling head-on the single worst epidemic facing our people. Any of us that were at the horse drive last year saw the dignity and poise that the horse owners conducted themselves and their animals through a historic building in County Tipperary. As a traveller whose father has reared horses for all my life, and to see how horse owners around the country are absolutely vilified despite being caring horse owners, it was an absolute honour to see the horse owners parade their horses through Clare Castle. So really a lot of credit has to go to those horse owners who took the initiative to come together to form an association to address the issues that was facing them from carrying on their culture of horse ownership. Because we know from speaking to men and to families all around the country and from international research that caring for a horse is like the equivalent for a traverman of the settleman's min shed. It's like talking shoulder to shoulder and standing shoulder to shoulder. It's our way of dealing with any stresses in our life. It's our way of having a hobby, of doing something and passing something very honourable on to your next generation. So often in traveller families you see horse lines that have come down through different generations. In our own family we had a horse called Queenie, and there must be about 200 horses coming from that one little Queenie all around southern Ireland today. So it was with an absolute hurt, I suppose, and devastation when some of those horses were slaughtered in 2014 because they were held on illegal land. And this was in a part of the country where horse ownership wasn't facilitated and where the horses were taken in and slaughtered, taken into pounds and slaughtered after horse owners had paid exorbitant rates time after time after time to get the horses out. So coming to the drive for Hope and Change last year for me was a game changer. And it gave horse owners like my father and other people across the country hope that maybe Ireland was ready to look at horse ownership in the travel community in a different light. But particularly gave traveller horse owners hope to say that they were able to take ownership and be able to proudly show that being a traveller horse owner wasn't the same as being somebody who was abusive to animals, as is what is currently seen in a lot of the media. Shining a light on the mental health crisis and suicide rates in the Irish traveller community today will be a frank and open discussion about the mental health crisis amongst our people and the root causes of this crisis. As a traveller woman, a mother, a sister, a wife, a daughter, an activist, having a frank and open discussion about the mental health epidemic is all I am now willing to do. Why? Suicide in our people is over 7 times the national average. We all know the statistics. Every meeting, every leaflet, every campaign about traveller health for the past number of years gives us the statistics. What we as community members know though, as mothers, as daughters, fathers, sons, brothers, sisters, what we know much more than the statistics and what we feel much more than the statistics is the utter devastation that exists within our community at the tragic deaths of many of our family members, our friends, our neighbours, our colleagues through suicide. Not counted though is the amount of people who we lose through the abuse of alcohol, drugs, violence and other symptoms of oppression. Not counted are the stresses, the pressures, the absolute heavy weight put on people and put on travellers from as young as 4 years of age when they enter the school system. And I speak about this because when we do surveys around the country in our respective counties, and I come from County Kerry, when we do surveys with our young people, they report, and even with our older generation here, we report the earliest incidents of racism and discrimination and being different that we felt was on entering the school system, probably the age 3 or 4. So you can imagine your 3 or 4 year old going to school and feeling different, marginalised and less, and that conducting and carrying on for the rest of his or her life. And while we're not a pity story here, any of the travellers in this room, we're all success stories. While none of us are pity stories and we're proud, dignified people, we do need to relay to ourselves first of all, admit it to ourselves first of all, and admit it to everybody that we meet, that the way we are treated in Irish society has a massive impact on our health and well-being, whether that be our physical health and our mental health. We are living, and we have lived, in some of the worst living conditions in Europe for generations. We have always had a housing or accommodation crisis, but nobody but the UN heard us. We have had the lowest attainment in education in Ireland. We have the highest unemployment rates. Our distinct and unique Indigenous ethnicity was only recognised by our state after several UN interventions and recommendations last year, despite us as a people fighting for this for generations. Our prisons are teeming with our people. We are feuding and fighting with each other. We are mostly living in poverty, hand to mouth. Why? Are we inherently bad, useless people? Because remember, this is what society will tell us that we are. We're adults now, so that's, if you like, any of us who are here today, we have survived that. But this is what our young children, that we're all rearing, our grandchildren, this is what they're hearing, this is what they're feeling, this is what they're experiencing, this is what they feel from Irish society is their place in Irish society. Now, you don't have to be a psychotherapist or a sociologist to say that anybody who feels like that will not feel part of society and the community. Anyone who is looked on as the other and the others will never feel equal and never be treated equal in a society. And that's why activists in this room, both traveller and non-traveller, have fought for generations for equality. If we were to believe everything that we hear about ourselves, we would never walk with our heads high. We would never get out of bed in the morning. And the truth is that most of us don't want to admit that what we hear, what we see, and what we feel and experience in Irish society has an impact on us. I know I didn't. I always, until 2009, I always had the opinion, nobody can get to me. I am a very proud, strong woman, and I'm above all that, and anybody says anything to me, it doesn't get to me. It goes right through me and right over me. I don't take any notice of it. And then I heard a talk at the Irish Travel Movement Conference by psychotherapist Thomas McCann. And it was the first time I'd heard the words internalised oppression. He spoke from his heart about the impact of racism and the connection between racism and mental health. The way that travellers internalise all the oppression and all the negative things that we feel in society, and we hold it so deep within ourselves and almost that we self-combust. We hold it so deep that it damages us. Now Thomas is here himself today, so he's a much, much better authority than that, and I'm sure he will impart some of that on to us. But for me and others in the room, it was so powerful that I really changed my thinking on whether I was discriminated against, what impact it had on me, and for the first time I admitted that. I built up a wall around myself and made myself into this kind of super being where I would let nobody or nothing get to me because I was protecting myself from anyone hurting me, whether it be calling me the name knacker, calling me disparaging things, making assumptions about travellers. My attitude was rise up, rise up, rise up. But in doing that, I was feeling an awful lot of hurt, and that's what a lot of travellers have to do, even from people that are supposed to care for them and look after them, whether that be doctors, teachers, nurses, staff in different buildings, staff in different authorities. We constantly have to feed off people's negative opinion of travellers. And I can see, now that I have more of an understanding, where people get those negative opinions on travellers from. And it's not from travellers. If you were to look at anything about travellers in our media, it's negative. If you were to look at TV, social media, anything that goes wrong in Ireland, if they don't blame the government, they blame the travellers. But mostly travellers get it, I think, in the neck even more so than the government. But that's not to let people off the hook, because I am an intelligent human being and everybody else is here. I know that if one settled person robs me or does something to harm me, that doesn't mean that every settled person is bad. And all we ask for as a community is to be treated the same. We have to ask ourselves as a community when we're talking about mental health, all the things that people say about us, do we want to have these situations in our life? Do we want to be unemployed? Do we want to be undereducated? Do we want to be discriminated? Do we ask to be discriminated against? Do we deserve discrimination? Do we deserve to be inside in jail, get harsher sentences in some instances than our non-traveller cohorts? Do we ask to be mistreated? Do we ask to live in poor living conditions? No, we don't. And if you want to get to the root causes of everything, and if you want to solve something, you have to get to the root causes of it. If you have a weed in your garden, if you don't pull that weed and deal with it, that weed is going to continue to come back. And from an activist point of view, I do feel that there are a few voices, and some of them, most of them, they're sitting around this room this morning, who have been crying out to look at the root causes of our mental health crisis, look at the root causes of our discrimination, and to deal with them. And until we deal with them, we're going to go round in a merry circle. And if the state gave us 100 million this minute to deal with the traveller mental health crisis, we won't solve it. Because resources are not the issue. Innovation and an openness to hear what it is that travellers are experiencing, to hear the solutions that our travellers are offering, to listen to how everyday interactions are having a massive impact on traveller mental health. We have a vested interest as community members in solving this crisis, because our brothers, our sisters, our families, our children, ourselves are the ones being impacted by this. So we always stand open and willing to work with any other agency who wants to stand with us to solve and address the mental health epidemic of travellers. So, on saying that, I want to commend everybody that's sitting in the room today from different agencies that is here today to have an open and frank discussion about mental health. There's not one of us, whether we're traveller or settled, who doesn't know the pain of losing somebody that we love prematurely. But you can imagine losing several people from your immediate family, your extended family, your circle, through something that could be prevented. You can imagine waking up one morning and people just gone from your community, waking up after a year and thinking there's 10 people gone from our town. There's 10 families that are impacted and their loved ones are never coming back, and we had the power to do something about that. So we have an opportunity today. I work in Kerry Travellers in County Kerry. It's a county-wide project. And we recently did a mental health survey, a snapshot of how our community are feeling. And one of the things that came back to us, which we found interesting, was that what made people happy was things like going on holidays. So when we examined this, we thought, well, everybody's happy when they go on holidays initially. But when we really delved into it and explored it, it was because when people were on holidays, they could be seen as Irish people, with no labels, no burdens on their shoulders. They could just walk in and walk out anywhere they were with the freedom to be themselves. And for that week or that 2 weeks, they could be treated, slowly judged on the people they were themselves. And that's all any traveller ever asks for. So, in conclusion today, I hope that we make use of this unique opportunity that we have. We're from all over the country today. There's agencies, there's travel projects, there's travel communities, people from all different walks of life, that we have a real opportunity to create change, not just in County Tipperary, but to create something that will be replicated right across the country. And we're very excited, I suppose, to hear a message later on from another minority group in the USA. And what we have been saying for years is that the marginalisation and the symptoms that we experience as a result of marginalisation and racism are not unique to the traveller community. Our statistics are exactly the same as any other minority group, whether it be the Native Americans, the Maori, the Sami people, the Roma people, all across Europe, all across the globe. And we're all people that have been marginalised. And if we truly want to make a better community, a better life for ourselves and our neighbours, a better country and a better world, then it has to start with us, and we have to work towards that. And we have to start developing programmes that will have an impact, that are designed by travellers, for travellers, and that will work. We have to start listening to the traveller needs in the county. Otherwise we'll be still coming back here in 30 years and saying the same thing that we were today. Finally, I said that we were people of survivors, but it's not just good enough to survive. Every community, every parent, every family member, every person owes it to themselves, their families, and to their people. Not just to survive, but to thrive, and to be the best that we can be. So let's make use of this opportunity today to take our community from one where we're barely surviving to one where we're thriving, because that would be a better Ireland for us and a better Ireland for everyone.